Yeah. All right, we're in 18b with Chesma Beis. We're actually coming to the home stretch of the chapter. All right, we're in chapter 2 here. We're coming now to the home stretch, and I think we can finish it today, the finished chapter. So, we're discussing whether a Sotah woman would drink if she's accused or if she's suspected of infidelity and she went through the whole process and she drank the water, whether that can happen to her again, whether she can drink it twice, or is it a one-time deal and that's it. And the text that the Gemara cites to, the verse, is Zois Toidas Hakanois. This is the laws of the jealousies. So one can point to the word Zois, the word this, which is very specific and singular, this and no other time, which would mean then a woman can only drink the Sotah once, and once she's done, from then forward, no more drinking of the Sotah waters. Or one can argue, the verse says jealousies, plural, so the husband can get jealous again, warn her again, and she secludes again, and bring her to the Torah, bring her to the temple again, and so on. And we had 4 variations, 4 opinions that we now have to explain and take apart and understand. One is the original statement, the Tana Kama, the first speaker of the Mishnaic text, the first Tana, who says that she could become a Sotah more than once. Rabbi Yehuda says, no becoming a Sotah more than once. Rabbi Yehuda told us that Nechunya ben Hakana, the one who dug wells, that a woman can drink the Sotah waters twice, but only from 2 different husbands. So each husband gets one shot at having his wife drink the Sotah waters. And if she remarries after the death of the first, the divorce of the first, then that second husband can also cause her to drink. And the sages came along and said, a woman cannot repeat drinking the water, even if it's a second husband. Only once, and that's it. That's the end of the Mishnaic text. Now comes the Gemara's analysis. So the Gemara begins by first analyzing the opening opinion.
Is that all 4 opinions?
That was all 4 opinions.
So
one unqualifies by saying no more repetition.
That's the
Tana Kama. The second opinion says
one Sotah.
No more than one Sotah.
Oh, more than one the Tana Kama was, right?
Yes, the Tana Kama was more than one.
Yehuda was, I guess, number 2.
Yehuda was number 2.
Unless they 2 different husbands.
That was number 3.
That's 3.
Right. Number 2 was
Yehuda, only one.
Yehuda is one.
Okay.
Who says that she cannot do more than once. Rabbi Yehuda told us that Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana said that they did it twice, but only with 2 different husbands.
That's number 3.
Number 3. And number 4 is new husband, same husband, only once. So some of the opinions seem repeated, but they say it in a different way. So the Gemara is going to have to kind of formulate exactly where the different opinions mean. She got remarried, and then the second husband can now make her a Sotah again. So some of the opinions seem repeated. Their formulation is somewhat different, and we'll see as we unpack it in the next today. We'll see where everybody falls in the different cases.
What happens in the case of a kohen who wants to marry, got to marry an unmarried woman?
Yeah.
Does she have to be a virgin?
I don't know, not for a regular kohen. For a high priest, yes.
Okay, so could he say, look, I'm a kohen and I want to be sure?
No, Sotah water is only under the circumstance of the warning and the fidelity of the whole thing. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. So the Gemara begins this analysis by saying as follows. The Tana Kama, so it's 4 lines from the bottom of the page of 18b, the last word. This is a little abbreviation, Vav Taf Kuf, which reads, the Tana Kama. And the Tana Kama, the first scholar, the first sage of the Mishnah, which said that a woman may drink more than once, because the verse says this is the law of the jealousies. And because jealousies are in the plural, therefore he argued a woman can become a Sotah more than once. So the Gemara asks, but Nami Haksiv, does it not also state Zois? Does it not also state this? This implying only one time, no more? Now, conversely, Rabbanan Basroi, the 4th opinion, the sages, which said that a woman cannot drink more than once, even if it's a second husband. Nami Haksiv does not also read Torah's laws plural, Torah's Kadais, plural jealousies, plural laws. So take the two extreme cases, take the two extreme opinions. The first opinion which said she can drink as many times as she wants. She can become a Sotah as many times as necessary. And the last opinion which said she can never become a Sotah more than once, right? The ones in the middle, we don't know where they stand yet because maybe it depends if she has one husband or two husbands or whatever. But the first and last, which give unqualified, the first one saying, yes, Sotah as many times. And the last one saying, no Sotah more than once, even if she gets remarried, because only once per woman, that's it. And they're each relying on the same three words in the verse. This is the laws of the jealousies. But one's hanging on to the plural, and one's hanging on to the specified language of this. So what do they each do to explain the other language? Right? They each need to explain.
What's the verse?
This is the laws of the jealousies. Zois Torah Saknois. So this is singular and the specific only once. And Torah Saknois, the laws of the jealousies, implies plural. So the one who picks on the plural and says, therefore she can drink as many as she wants, well, what does he do with the verse that says this, that word? And the one who says only once, because the verse says this, what does he do with the verse that says Torah Saknois jealousies in the plural? They each have to explain the other part of the verse. Right? Following?
Yeah, because they have to reconcile the other part of the verse.
Correct. So now the Gemara is going to go through the variables, because we mentioned yesterday that there are two different variables. Variable number one is it the same husband or a new husband? And variable number two is she being warned about the same guy or is she being warned about a different guy? Those are your two variables. Now take the two variables and combine them with each other, you get four cases. Right? So let's see. Amar Rava says, third word in the second to last line of 18b. Bi'ish echad, if it's one husband, ubayil echad, and being warned about the same guy. So she's married to someone, he warns her about secluding with a certain person. She does seclude herself, she becomes a Sotah, she drinks the water. 5 months later, he gets jealous again and warns her about the exact same guy. It's the same husband and the same guy, the same suspicion. So because everything stays the same, says Rabbi, the Kula Alma all would agree, everybody, Loi Pligi do not argue, they all agree, she cannot drink and then drink again. Because you already did this once. This is the same rodeo again, over again. We don't do this again. Same husband, warning about the same jealousy with the same guy. Sorry, there's a limit on that. One jealousy, one time drinking, that's it. So same husband, warning about the same guy, only once, that's it.
Does she have to drink it if there's witnesses?
Only witnesses to seclusion, not to any infidelity. If they're right, this we talked about in the first chapter. If there's witnesses to the actual infidelity, then they divorce. This is only if there's witnesses to seclusion, but we don't know what happened behind closed doors. So the Sotah there to check it out. So he makes her drink once because she's secluded with a certain guy and he's jealous. And now after she drank the water, 5 months, 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever it is, he warns her again about the same guy. Says Torah, what?
Can't do it.
You can't make her drink the water again. You've already went through this with the same jealousy. You can't do that again. And Iksiv, this would then be the meaning of the verse which says, Zois, this, meaning this specific scenario cannot be repeated again, which is the same husband warning about the same guy. That can't be repeated. So that's the one extreme of the variable, where it's the same husband warning about the same guy. Now let's go to the other extreme. Shnei Anashim, two husbands. So she's married to one guy,
Two husbands.
got warned not to seclude herself with a certain guy. She did. She became a Sotah. For whatever reason, the husband dies. Let's just go with that. The husband died. She remarries. And now the second husband is jealous of her, warns her not to seclude herself, but with a different guy. So it's Shnei Anashim, two husbands, the Shnei Boyalim, and they're warning about different people. So now none of the variables are the same between warning number one and warning number two.
So it's exact opposite of the first.
Exact opposite of the first. The first case was one extreme where it's the repetition of the exact same thing. Same husband warning about the same guy. Okay, that you can't repeat. But what if there's no similarity or no connectivity between the first warning and the second warning? It's a separate husband and we're worrying about a separate guy. So then says Rabbi, the Kula Alma everybody, like Pligi, no one would argue, everybody would agree, that she may drink the water again, because it's completely a new case. It's a new husband and a new guy. And it makes sense. In other words, if the same husband is mourning again and again, we might blame it on him being overly jealous. We'll say, okay, pipe down, right? And you're worrying about the same guy. It's like, okay, we're not making you do this again. You did it already. If it's another husband and warning about a different guy, it's a whole new case. Okay, so let her go through the process again. Why should, it's a new love affair. It's a new guy. It's a new marriage. It's a whole new scenario. Okay, so she got to go through the Sotah process again. The Ksiv, and this then would be the verse which says, Torah's laws of jealousies, plural.
Can she marry the one she was fooling around with?
No, not allowed to. We discussed that in the previous chapter. She's not allowed to.
Say, why wouldn't it be? Let's say a person is convicted of a crime and he goes to prison, serves 10 years, comes out, commits another crime, and he's like, no, okay, you already did prison, so.
Okay, so that's a good point. But here, remember, it's not a crime, it's a suspicion of a crime. And the question is, do we make her go through the whole ordeal just because the husband's jealous? Or did you already play your jealous card and now you ran out, you're done? Sorry?
It's a balancing act that has to be
That's right.
applied so that there's no
No abuse of the system.
abuse of the system.
Yeah. So that's right. So now we have two extremes. And Rabbi states that all agree in these laws. So if it's the same husband warning about the same guy a second time, she can't repeat. A different husband warning about a different guy, then different scenarios, she can repeat and drink again. And everybody agrees with this. So now, that's right, these are the extreme cases. So now we've already satisfied the verse, which on the one hand says singular, and on the one hand then it says plural. It says singular to inform you that you cannot warn, the same husband cannot require Sotah drinking for the same guy. And it says plural to tell you, if it's a different husband warning about a different guy, then she may drink the water again. Now the question is the other variables. And that is where the dispute comes in that we discussed yesterday. So let's see. Sorry? That's right. So let's see. Exactly. So let's see. So keep pligi. Where is the dispute? The ish echad, if you have one husband, is shnei boyalim, but he's warning her about different people. So it's the same husband. He warns her about one guy. She secludes herself. We don't know what happened. We take her to drink the Sotah water. A couple of months later, a week later, a year later, whatever it is, he says, oh, there's another guy I'm suspecting you of. So here you can think of it both ways. On the one hand, you might say, look, it's a different guy. She has a new fling. Maybe she's a woman that runs off from one guy to another, and that's why he's warning her again. And therefore, if that was the logic, then okay, let her drink the water again to check if she's behaving.
Right.
On the other hand, we might argue, this guy's obviously overly jealous. Once, twice. Sorry, you played your card, it's over. So here you can see a dispute.
Right.
And likewise, the reverse. Shnei anashim, two husbands, the boil echad, and they both warned about the same guy. So she was married, was warned about a certain guy. She secluded herself. We don't know what happened. She became a Sotah. She drank the water. Then the husband dies. She remarries, and the new husband now warns her about the same guy, and she secludes herself with the same guy, and we don't know what happened behind closed doors. Does she drink the Sotah water again? On the one hand, one can argue the Sotah already checked for that relationship, so we're not worried about that relationship because the Sotah water will do its thing. Or do I argue it's a new husband and he has the right to be jealous on his account, even though he happens to be warning about the same guy that the first husband did? So these are the variables in the middle. One husband warning about two different guys, or two husbands warning about the same guy. There's where the variable comes in.
And that's also difficult to reconcile in terms of the verse.
So let's see. Yeah.
Which one goes to the singular and which goes to the plural?
So now we're going to see. Tanakama, the original opinion, the first scholar of the Mishnah, 4 lines on the top of the page of Testament Aleph 19a. Tanakama Savar, the fourth word in the fourth line. Tanakama, the first scholar says, Savar, he's of the view that Torahs, the verse says laws of jealousies in the plural. Liriboy, that comes to in Liriboy Kulihi, comes to add every possible case. If you have a word that is plural, that means we're incorporating every case. Now, Zois, when you have the word Zois, this, which gives us a specification and says singular. Lemuti ish echad. It only comes to exclude one specific case, namely ish echad u'boil echad. The same husband warning about the same guy a second time. So in other words, which one do you take for granted of these two words? Specificity, zois, this, and the general term, what's the word? The plural term, which says these are the laws of the jealousies. So the first sage says, it says laws of jealousies, it means every case, which means you can repeat offenders and you can have repeat to drinking. And as for the fact that the verse says zois in the specific, that's coming to exclude one specific case, which is the same husband warning about the same guy. Following?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. Rabbanan Basroi, the last opinion, the sages at the end of the opinion, Savri, they're of the view, the reverse. Instead of taking as the baseline that we include everything because there's a plural and then exclude one case because there's a specific, do the reverse. We have a specific word, zois, this, lamuti kuli comes to exclude every case. No repetition, no matter what the scenario is. But Torah, the fact that it says plural laws of jealousies, comes to exclude one extreme case where it's two husbands warning about two guys. Following?
I thought.
We clear on this?
It should include all cases, not exclude.
Those are the two opinions.
No, you said this excludes every case.
That's right. Because only this can happen, meaning excluding, you cannot make her drink more than once ever, because it's only once.
Oh.
And the word Torah is coming to include one. In other words, you have one word that's singular and one that's plural. Which one's the baseline and which one's the anomaly? Do I say the plural is the baseline and therefore every single case can be repeat drinking? And the fact that there's the word zois, that's an anomaly. One extreme case, which is the same guy warning about the same guy, the same husband warning about the same guy, that guy can't repeat drinking.
That includes one case?
That only includes one case. Or that's right. Only excludes one case of repeated drinking. Only excludes one case of repeated drinking, which is the extreme case of one guy warning the same guy warning about the same husband warning about the same guy twice, or the other way around. The words this, which is the specific, that's the baseline, meaning there's never repeat drinkers, never repeat offenders. And then the fact that there's a plural comes to include one extreme case where we do allow repeat drinkers, which is two husbands warning about two guys. Which one's the anomaly? Which one's the baseline and which one's the anomaly? Is the baseline we never do repeat except for one extreme? Or is the baseline we always do repeat except for one extreme? Those are the two different opinions at the top and the bottom of the four things. Now we have to get to the two guys in the middle. Clear on this so far?
Sorry.
What?
Sorry.
Right.
It's complicated.
Yeah, so remember we have four cases.
Right.
We have one guy warning about one husband about the same guy twice. We have two husbands about the same guy twice. We have one husband about two different guys, and we have two husbands about two guys. So two husbands about two guys, always you can do repeat drink. One husband about about the same guy twice, no repeat. The middles are variable, right? So let's take the two extreme opinions. One opinion says, the verse says this, meaning we never do repeat drinking, ever. Now, as for the fact that the Torah also says Torah in the plural, that's because there is one extreme case in which we allow for repeat drinking, namely when it's two guys, and when it's two husbands warning about two different guys. Okay, one way of thinking about it, which would be you never do repeat drinking if it's two husbands about the same guy, if it's the same husband about two different guys, no repeat drinking.
What do you mean two different guys with the same husband?
Same guy is jealous of two different people. He warns her first about one guy, and then he warns her about another.
Same husband.
One husband,
But he's concerned about
two different people. He's concerned about two different unfaithful relationships. Or do you get one card to play and that's it?
right.
Or can you play it again? So this opinion says, no, you only got one card to play.
So I guess I'm a bit confused at the suspicious aspect. If the man is suspicious of his wife, he's not suspicious of the man, he's suspicious of his wife.
That's right. But he has to warn her about hanging out with a certain guy.
So he's also suspicious of the men too.
He's suspicious of her relationship with a certain person.
Okay.
And he warns her about that.
Right.
She drinks the Sotah water.
Right.
And now 2 months later, he's worried about another relationship.
Right.
So says this opinion, you overplayed your card, it's done.
Right.
Can't drink again.
Yeah, you're just neurotic.
That's right, exactly. So when the Torah says this, which is very specific, meaning to say we never make a woman drink more than once. As for the fact that the Torah says Torah in plural laws of jealousies, that's because there is one extreme case where we do allow repeat drinking. And that is if it's 2 husbands warning about 2 different people, because it's a new offender and it's a new husband, then that's it. That's one way of thinking about it. The other way of thinking about it is exactly the inverse. Torah says these are the laws of the jealousies, plural. So that means you can make a woman drink as many times as you want. Always can drink. Repeat jealousy, repeat offender, repeat drinking. As for the fact that the Torah says this in the singular, that's because there is one extreme case in which we don't let you drink more than once. Namely, if it's the same guy jealous about the same husband, the same husband jealous about the same guy. So it's the inverse of each other. Is the baseline you never drink twice, with the exception of one extreme, or is the baseline you always drink twice, with the exception of one extreme?
Okay.
Following exactly the inverse. That's one way of reading it. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, got that on.
I got it, but I just don't think it's fair. They're always picking on the women.
This is God's law. I don't know what I can tell you.
Yeah. What if the guy's from there?
We already established in the beginning, the first chapter, that if a husband makes his wife drink the Sotah waters and he's fooling around, then the water, even though he didn't drink it, the water will curse him. So every time he makes a woman, his wife, drink, he better be squeaky clean, because otherwise it's going to come right back at him. So we established that in the first chapter, right? So it goes both ways. But as far as the technical law goes, she drinks. Okay.
So it's one extreme case where we don't allow, we allow him to drink only once.
In one extreme case where we don't allow repetition,
Don't allow.
we don't allow repeat drinking, or one extreme case where we allow repeat drinking. Exactly. So now let's see the middle guys, the middle opinions. Rabbi Yehuda,
That's because, sorry, I'm just trying to
Yep.
understand. That's because the verse has seemingly contradictory.
that's right.
Connections. Like
On the one hand, it's
one hand it's singular, and one hand it's
plural.
So
That's correct.
this is why there's 2 competing.
That's right. 2 competing ways of thinking about it.
Potential laws.
That's right. Do I say
Outcomes.
exactly?
2 or 1.
That's
Or
right.
more than 1 and 1.
That's right. So now let's see Rabbi Yehuda, the middle opinion. Now at this point, the Mishnah seems to be combining Rabbi Yehuda and the second and third opinion seems to be combined here. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yehuda, who spoke in the name of Nechon ben Akana, who spoke in the name of the well digger, right? The guy who dug wells for the mitzvah.
Got it.
Yeah. So he is quoted by Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yehuda first makes a statement. Let's see. Rabbi Yehuda first says, let me just go back to the previous page a sec. Rabbi Yehuda first says, he says specific and therefore no repeat drinking. And then he quotes the Nechon ben Akana, which said that he remembers that they made a woman drink twice, but only because it was 2 different husbands. Right? That was Rabbi Yehuda. So let's see how the Gemara explains that now. Rabbi Yehuda, so it's 1, 2, 3, 5 lines from the end of the chapter. Rabbi Yehuda, he says as follows. Zois, the Torah says the word Zois, this is the law of the Sotah. This is specific. That means to say it is restrictive and we don't allow repeat offenders, repeat drinking. Lemut de tarti. This is to exclude 2 cases. Torahs, the Torah says this is the laws of the Sotah in the plural, laws of the jealousies in the plural. The Rabbi's tarti comes to include 2. So whereas the other 2 opinions went extreme, they took one of the 2, right? Like you said, Torah says on the one hand specific, and then the Torah says on the other hand plural. So 2 opinions earlier, one opinion took the specific as the baseline, and then the repetition as the anomaly, as the exception. The other one took repetition as the baseline and not allowing repetition as the anomaly. And Rabbi Yehuda gives equal credence to both and says, when the Torah says specifically no repetition, that's 2 cases out of the 4. And when the Torah says yes repetition, that's 2 cases out of the 4. Following? So he gives equal because there's 4 cases. right? So the first scholars went 3-1, but in the inverse, 3 times no repetition, 1 time yes repetition, or 3 times yes repetition, 1 time no repetition. Now we're going 2 and 2, equal to both. Clear? So let's see, what are the 2?
She's putting herself to the right, and she's learning Torah.
And then they have marital problems that they should work out. Yeah. Yeah. Don't turn Torah into your own flirtation device.
Having you run away with your own fantasies.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 2 and 2, right? We're clear on how we're going here because there's four variables.
Yeah, so which 2 is it? I guess.
That's right. There's 4 variables. Same husband, same guy. 2 husbands, same guy.
One of the extremes of
Let's say-
one of the hybrids.
Let's see. That's right. So we have
2 husbands.
one husband, same guy twice. 2 husbands, same guy. 1 husband, different 2 guys. 2 husbands, 2 guys. So one opinion says never repeat with the exception of 2 husbands, 2 guys. Another opinion says always repeat with the exception of same husband, same guy.
The first
And-
one, right?
Yeah, so the inverse of each other. 3 yes repetition, 1 no repetition, or 3 no repetition, 1 yes repetition. And now we're going with Rabbi Yehuda, which says 2 and 2. So 2 yes repetition, 2 no repetition. Let's see which ones they are. So Zois the Motitarti, when it says this in the specific, it comes to tell us that there are 2 cases in which you may not repeat the drinking. And that is the obvious one, which is Ish Echad Boil Echad. One husband warning about the same guy twice. That definitely no repetition. The other one is Ish Echad Shnei Boilim. One guy who is jealous about 2 guys, 2 husbands, two unfaithful relationships. Because like you said, you're neurotic. You're jealous of one guy, you're making your wife go through this whole crazy ordeal, dragging her to the temple, making her drink again. And now you're doing it to her again. Okay, she's not the problem, you're the problem. You overplayed your card, you can't make her drink again. Okay,
They're saying 1 husband, 2 guys is also only 1.
that's right. Now, Tarti l'Rebuyi, Torah is l'Rebuyi, when the Torah l'Rebuyi Tarti, now Rabbi Huda says, when the Torah says plural, these are the laws of the Sotah, laws of the jealousies in the plural, that comes to tell us that there are 2 cases when you may repeat offender. Namely, Shnei Anashim Aboil Echad, 2 husbands warning about the same guy. Shnei Anashim Shnei Boilim, 2 husbands warning about 2 guys. So 2 husbands warning about 2 guys, everybody agrees you can do repeat because it's a new case, new husband, new jealousy. A new guy, new relationship. But the Rabbi is arguing, if it's 2 husbands warning about the same guy, we're not going to say both husbands are neurotic. We'll say she obviously has a thing for that guy. And give the second husband the benefit of the doubt to get the sight of waters again.
Yeah.
If it's the same guy, so it makes perfect sense. So this is basically a very simple balance. If it's the same guy warning his husband, warning his wife more than once, and he's willing to make her go through the whole ordeal of dragging a sight to the temple, obviously something's wrong with him. You do it once, we're not letting you do it again.
Yeah.
But if it's 2 husbands, even if it happens to be the same guy they're warning about, 2 husbands, obviously she's a woman that hangs around.
Right.
Because both the first husband warned her and the second husband warned
It's
her.
like having 2 witnesses.
The probability, That's right. So- exactly. The probability of who is the one that's deviating here.
Right.
If it's the same husband warning again and again, obviously he's the one that's missing something. But if she's the one that's constantly misbehaving and 2 different husbands both warn about the same guy, then maybe she's got a thing for hanging out with other people.
Yeah.
And therefore we're allowed to drink twice. So these are the middle ground. These are the 3 opinions. So we have 3 opinions and we can recap them quickly. Opinion number 1 is the baseline is no repetition, which means if it's the same husband, same guy, no repetition. 2 husbands, same guy, no repetition. 1 husband, 2 guys, no repetition. The only repetition we allow is if it's 2 husbands and 2 different guys.
Right.
Other extreme is the baseline is you may do repetition. So 2 husbands, 2 guys for sure. 1 husband, 2 guys also. 2 husbands, 1 guy also. The only time no repetition is the one extreme where it's the same guy with the same husband twice. That's the other opinion. Then we have Rabbi Yehuda, which is in the medium. The same husband warning twice, we don't give him the benefit of the doubt. Even if it's 1 guy or 2 guys. 2 husbands warning, they each get their own card to play, even if it happens to be they warned about the same guy. So there's our 3 opinions. And with this, maybe we conclude chapter 2 of
What's interesting,
Sotah. So congratulations, we finished chapter 2 of Sotah.
interesting though is how
See you.
Yeah.
Interesting, though, how come the Gemara didn't go through the same analysis in this scenario that we just learned today that it did with the previous mission about the oath having a futuristic, with this.
yeah.
None of
Okay,
this
good-
seemed to play into,
Good question.
not
So,
only that, or whether the husband and the wife had a contractual obligation to each other, because I would think those things would have played in very.
I suggested yesterday that the two things may be connected, but we could separate them. I could see an argument being made that this dispute is dependent on the discussion on whether you can go future or not. I can see that playing in.
Yeah.
On the other hand, they could be separate. It could be separate, and the reason is because with the vow and with the oath, there's no variables. You can add as many things as you want to the oath. The question is, what's the limit on what you can add? Whereas here, there are variables to what actually happened. Is it the same guy or not the same guy? Right. So one could argue.
Doesn't that play into the same guy or not the same guy? Just like the Yavon and the.
Whether it goes. Yeah, it could.
You know,
It
so
could.
I'm just surprised that it just.
I could see the commentaries discussing
Whole
that.
analysis out of this.
So the Gemara, so it's interesting. The Gemara didn't explicitly make any connection, but there's juxtaposed, and this discussion
Yeah.
is inserted here right after the discussion on the futuristic. So I can see commentaries certainly making a link between the two and saying that because the Sotah water warrants for the future, therefore you can't repeat.
Right, you could.
Or maybe you could repeat because it doesn't go so far. And I could see that playing in here. Certainly can, but the Gemara is not explicit about it. When I first read it, that was my first thought, which is why I mentioned yesterday that I think the two are linked, but the Gemara doesn't make that link explicitly.
Because as you were telling this, sir, I was trying to think of how they came to these conclusions, maybe.
Right.
Based on.
Very possibly. Very possible.
I don't want to hear about Sotah anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's the show.
We still have a lot.
We still have a lot to go. Okay, chapter 3 tomorrow, God willing. Have a wonderful day, Eden.
Starting a new chapter.